The council chamber loomed vast and foreboding, its walls carved from dark, alien stone that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Around a circular table sat the galaxy's most influential species, their leaders clad in ceremonial garb adorned with symbols of dominance and heritage. The air was thick with tension, punctuated by the murmurs and smirks of disdain aimed at the lone human representative. Evelyn Carter stood tall, her tailored suit and calm demeanor a stark contrast to the grandeur of the alien attire. Whispers passed between reptilian emissaries and shimmering, translucent beings. A hulking, armored diplomat from the Thalcor growled lowly, his sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. "They send one of them to negotiate? Fragile and naive." Evelyn ignored the remarks, her focus unbroken as she scanned the room. The subtle flick of her eyes to a hidden data pad at her side betrayed the meticulous preparation beneath her calm surface. A sharp clang of a gavel silenced the room. The Zorath ambassador rose, towering above the rest with his emerald-hued scales and predatory gaze. His voice, a guttural resonance, filled the chamber. "Humans," he began with a sneer, "your species has overstayed its welcome in the galactic fold. Your kind is a parasite, spreading across systems you do not deserve. The Zorath Empire offers you a choice: surrender your territories, your resources, and your freedom, or face annihilation." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. A few delegates exchanged uneasy glances, but none spoke up in humanity's defense. Their neutrality was a shield against Zorath wrath, and they had no intention of breaking it. Evelyn stood still, her expression betraying nothing as the Zorath ambassador continued, each word dripping with mockery. "You are weak. Primitive. Clinging to technologies that are laughably outdated. Do you truly think you stand a chance against us?" Evelyn tilted her head slightly, her eyes meeting the ambassador's. She offered no immediate response, allowing the silence to stretch uncomfortably. The Zorath ambassador's smirk grew wider, mistaking her pause for fear. Finally she spoke, her voice measured but resolute. "Ambassador, you've made your position clear. Now let me make ours." The chamber grew quieter still, the previously smug expressions of the alien diplomats replaced by curiosity. Evelyn's words were not loud, but they carried a weight that demanded attention. "For millennia, humanity has faced extinction. We've endured plagues, wars, natural disasters, each one a test of our resolve. And each time, we've emerged stronger. Do not mistake our preference for diplomacy as a weakness. It is a strength born from understanding the cost of war." She took a step forward, her gaze sweeping across the council. "You call us fragile, but you forget we are adaptable. You call us soft, but you ignore the steel in our spirit. And you call us primitive, but you fail to see the fire of innovation that has brought us to this table, alongside beings like you." The Zorath ambassador snorted, his voice dripping with contempt. "Grand speeches won't save you, human. You should have accepted your place when you had the chance." Evelyn's lips curved into a faint smile, not one of amusement but of quiet confidence. "We've never sought war," she said, her tone sharpening. "But if you bring it to our door, don't be surprised when we bring it to yours." A ripple of murmurs spread across the room. The Zorath ambassador's smirk faltered for a moment before he barked a harsh laugh. "Foolish words. You will regret them soon enough." Rising to his full height, the ambassador declared, "The Zorath Empire formally declares war on humanity. Prepare for your annihilation." His words echoed through the chamber, final and unyielding. Evelyn met his gaze, unflinching. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the chamber, her steps purposeful and steady. Behind her, the whispers resumed, some mocking, others uncertain. As the doors of the council chamber closed behind her, Evelyn's calm exterior remained intact. Yet her mind raced, already forming the first steps of what would be humanity's greatest fight for survival. Back on Earth, her message to the people was clear: the time for unity and preparation had come. A storm was brewing, and humanity would face it together. The declaration of war sent shockwaves through humanity. News spread like wildfire, igniting fear, anger, and determination. Across the planet, Long-standing divisions faded as a single truth united everyone: survival depended on cooperation. In bustling cities and remote villages alike, people abandoned their differences to prepare for the coming conflict. Engineers and labs worked tirelessly, repurposing civilian technologies for warfare. Factories that once produced cars now churned out battle-ready vehicles, while scientists refined energy-based weapons. Soldiers trained in grueling conditions, pushing themselves to their limits, preparing to face an enemy that saw them as prey. Streets filled with volunteers, students, mechanics, and retirees, all eager to contribute. Some crafted drones from salvage parts, others developed supply lines to support the war effort. Every human hand, regardless of skill or background, played a role. Families planted victory gardens to ensure food supplies, while programmers cracked alien communication codes. The global network buzzed with coordinated efforts, and the phrase, "For Earth," became a rallying cry. No single nation took the lead. This was humanity united, a species fighting not for dominance but for its right to exist. Amid the chaos, innovation thrived. Scientists, freed from bureaucratic delays, experimented at an unprecedented pace. Using quantum mechanics, a team in Geneva developed a cloaking device capable of bending light and scattering electromagnetic signals. This made human ships virtually invisible to Zora sensors. In Australia, a group of physicists unveiled the HFY cannon, an energy weapon derived from chaotic systems theory. Unlike traditional lasers, its beam disrupted molecular bonds, rendering Zorath armor useless. Military strategists quickly incorporated these technologies, blending creativity with practicality. Civilians weren't excluded. They developed cheap, efficient solutions like mobile shelters for front lines and compact medkits capable of sealing wounds instantly. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't raw power, it was adaptability, the ability to transform weakness into advantage. In space, early tests of the cloaking device stunned commanders. Fleets vanished from radar, reappearing only when it was too late for simulated enemies to react. The HFY cannon melted through simulated Zorath shields like butter. These successes weren't just advancements. They were proof that humanity could fight this war on its terms. Meanwhile, the Alien Council watched with growing interest. The Zorath ambassador mocked humanity's preparations, labeling them futile theatrics. Many species agreed, echoing centuries of disdain for humans. They dismissed humanity as a species driven by luck, destined to fail when faced with real power. Yet, not all aliens shared this sentiment. A scaly, amphibian-like diplomat leaned toward a colleague during a council session. "You underestimate them," he murmured. "They're unpredictable. Their strength lies not in their technology but in how they wield it." Another nodded in reluctant agreement. "Their history is one of adaptation. Even now, they've made the galaxy take notice. Do not forget, we've seen them thrive in conditions that would destroy us." Still, the majority scoffed at such warnings, dismissing them as overly cautious. "The Zorath will crush them," one alien declared confidently. "It's only a matter of time." Back on Earth, Evelyn Carter addressed the world in a broadcast that reached every corner of the planet. She stood against a backdrop of Earth's united forces, her voice steady and clear, resonating with conviction. "We are a species born of struggle. Every generation before us faced challenges that seemed insurmountable: wars, pandemics, natural disasters, and each time, humanity endured. Not because we were the strongest, but because we refused to give up." Her words carried the weight of history, invoking the sacrifices of those who had come before. "Today, we face a threat unlike any we've seen. The Zorath see us as fragile, as weak. They expect us to cower, to surrender. But they do not know who we are." She paused, letting the silence drive the message home. "We are survivors. Builders. Innovators. We have always adapted, and we will do so again. This fight is not just for Earth, it is for every child dreaming of tomorrow, for every life lived in freedom. We fight not out of hatred but out of love for what we must protect." Emotion swelled in her voice as she concluded. "Make no mistake, this will not be easy. We will suffer, and we will sacrifice. But we will not break. And when this war is over, the galaxy will remember that humanity does not bow to fear. We rise. Her speech lit a fire in every human heart. Factories roared, soldiers marched, and scientists pushed the boundaries of possibility. The Zorath would soon learn the truth Evelyn had spoken. Humanity was not fragile. It was unyielding. The Zorath fleet arrived in Earth's orbit like a wall of firepower and destruction. Massive warships, their hulls shimmering with energy fields, dwarfed the orbital stations and defense platforms hastily constructed by humanity. To the Zorath commanders, this was not a battle, it was an extermination. Inside their command vessels, officers exchanged smug glances. The humans had proven irritatingly resilient in the council chamber, but their military would crumble like sand under the Zoratha's overwhelming might. Thousands of fighters swarmed out of the fleet's hangars, sleek and menacing, their engines glowing with alien energy. The fleet's flagship, a colossal dreadnought bristling with weaponry, hovered at the center, a monument to the Zoratha's unshakable confidence. They deployed their first salvo without hesitation, targeting Earth's orbital defenses. To them, the outcome was inevitable. Humanity was a minor inconvenience to be swept aside. But as the Zorath pressed forward, something unexpected happened. Their scanners flickered, showing ghostly signatures that danced and disappeared. The fleet's commander barked orders to recalibrate, but the interference persisted. Moments later, a wave of destruction erupted from within their ranks. Cloaked human ships had infiltrated the heart of the Zorath armada, their movements invisible to the enemy's sophisticated systems. These ships, smaller and less armored, carried payloads designed to disrupt rather than destroy. EMP bombs detonated in precise locations, shutting down engines, disabling shield generators, and leaving massive warships adrift. The Zorath, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with sheer power, faltered. Their rigid military doctrine left them ill-equipped to handle the chaos unfolding. Command chains broke as officers struggled to adapt to the sudden disruption. Meanwhile, human fighters darted through the confusion, striking and retreating before the Zorath could respond. Humanity's tactics were unconventional, even reckless, but they were effective. Using hit-and-run strategies, guerrilla-style assaults, and precision targeting, they exploited every weakness in the Zorath formation. A squadron of human pilots, led by Captain Malik Reyes, performed a daring run against the Zorath carrier. Reyes's voice crackled over the comms as he gave orders, his tone steady despite the chaos around him. "Stick to the plan, people. They're big, but they bleed." As EMP blasts took down the carrier's shields, Reyes led his team into its exposed hangars, unleashing a barrage of missiles. The carrier erupted in a fiery explosion, forcing nearby Zorath ships to scatter. "Scratch one!" Reyes shouted, a cheer rising among his squad before they peeled away to regroup. On the ground, humanity's determination was equally palpable. Lieutenant Erin Voss commanded a defense platform near Earth's moon, her team holding the line against Zorath fighters attempting to break through. The odds were stacked against them, yet Voss's voice rang out over the comms, unwavering. "This is where we hold. We don't retreat. If they want Earth, they'll have to come through us first." Amid the chaos, personal stories emerged that highlighted humanity's spirit. A young pilot, Alex Carter, gripped the controls of his fighter, a picture of his family taped to the dashboard. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "Whatever happens, make us proud." Carter's heart pounded as he dove into a formation of Zorath fighters, his maneuvers erratic and unpredictable. He fired with precision, downing 2 enemy ships before pulling out of the fray, his breath ragged but his resolve unshaken. Elsewhere, a seasoned Marine, Sergeant Lena Ortiz, led a boarding party onto a disabled Zorath frigate. Armed with little more than grit and determination, her team fought their way through the alien corridors, planting charges on the ship's core. As the countdown ticked, Ortiz grinned at her squad. "Let's give them something to remember us by." The explosions rippled through the frigate moments later, adding another victory to humanity's tally. By the end of the battle, the Zorath fleet had suffered losses they hadn't anticipated. Several of their largest ships were disabled or destroyed, forcing the armada to retreat beyond Earth's orbit. Humanity's defenses, while battered, had held. The price of victory was steep: ships lost, pilots killed, stations reduced to rubble, but it was a victory nonetheless. The Zorith, once so sure of their superiority, now faced an unsettling reality. Humanity was not the weak, predictable species they had believed. They were adaptive, resourceful, and unafraid to strike where it hurt. For the first time, the Zorith commanders felt a pang of doubt. On Earth, as reports of the battle spread, a wave of hope swept through the population. Humanity had stood its ground against the galaxy's most feared empire. And though the war was far from over, one thing was clear: humanity would not go quietly. They would fight, and they would endure. The Zorith, humiliated by their retreat, responded with unrelenting fury. Their counterattack was swift and brutal, targeting human colonies and key installations scattered across the solar system. Entire settlements were razed, their populations annihilated in displays of overwhelming force. On Mars, a fledgling colony fought valiantly but was ultimately obliterated, its distress signals cutting off mid-transmission. Orbital platforms defending Earth's supply lines crumbled under relentless bombardment. Despite the devastation, humanity refused to bend. Each loss hardened their resolve, every act of destruction fueling a collective determination to fight back. Broadcasts from Evelyn Carter, calm and unwavering, reminded the world of their purpose. "We knew this would not be easy. But remember this: every sacrifice, every setback, strengthens our resolve. We will not surrender. We will endure." Amidst the chaos, Evelyn and her team in Earth's Central Command devised a bold plan to shift the tides of war. The Zorith's strength lay in their centralized leadership, a rigid command structure reliant on a single, heavily defended capital world. If humanity could disrupt their leadership, it would cripple their ability to wage war. The plan was audacious. A fleet of cloaked ships would infiltrate the Zorith capital and disable its command center. Preparations for the mission began immediately. Engineers worked day and night to perfect the cloaking systems, pushing the technology to its limits. Scientists developed decoy devices to confuse Zorith sensors, while strategists plotted the most efficient infiltration routes. The risks were astronomical. Success required precision, timing, and an unyielding resolve. Evelyn herself addressed the volunteers for the mission, her voice steady but tinged with gravity. "This will be the most dangerous operation we have ever undertaken. Many of you may not return. But if we succeed, we will give humanity a chance to win this war." The volunteers, a mix of seasoned veterans and eager newcomers, stood unwavering. Among them was Captain Malik Reyes, the daring pilot who had distinguished himself in the first battle. Standing beside him was Commander Lena Ortiz, her resolve unshaken despite the scars she bore from prior engagements. Each person carried their own motivations, grief, hope, and a fierce love for their home, but all were united by a singular purpose: to ensure humanity's survival. The mission began in the dead of space, the cloaked ships slipping past Zorith patrols like shadows. The tension was palpable as they approached the Zorith capital, a planet encased in a lattice of defensive satellites and massive warships. Human ingenuity shone once again as decoy drones, programmed with false signatures, drew enemy attention away from the fleet's true position. Once inside the perimeter, the human ships descended into the atmosphere, weaving through the dense network of defenses. The Zorith capital was a sprawling metropolis, its surface bristling with weapon emplacements and power plants fueling the Empire's war machine. The target, a colossal fortress at the planet's core, housing the Zorith High Command. The infiltration was executed with surgical precision. Elite teams deployed from the cloaked ships, navigating the fortress's labyrinthine corridors. They planted EMP charges at critical points, disabling communications and automated defenses. The Zorith, caught off guard by the sudden assault, scrambled to respond, but their rigid structure left them vulnerable to humanity's adaptive tactics. As the mission progressed, the human forces faced mounting resistance. Zorith soldiers, fierce and unrelenting, poured into the fortress, engaging the infiltrators in brutal close-quarters combat. Casualties mounted on both sides, but the humans pressed forward, their determination unshaken. In the heart of the fortress, the team reached the command center, a cavernous chamber filled with alien technology. Just as they began planting the final charges, an ambush caught them off guard. Malik Reyes, piloting a support vessel nearby, overheard the team's desperate calls for backup. Without hesitation, he made the decision to intervene. Reyes directed his ship into the fortress's upper levels, using its weapon systems to clear a path for the infiltrators. However, the maneuver left his vessel vulnerable. Zorath fighters converged on him, their weapons tearing through the ship's hull. Knowing he wouldn't make it out alive, Reyes transmitted one final message to the team below. Mission first. Finish it. With Reyes' sacrifice buying them the time they needed, the team completed their task. As they evacuated, the charges detonated, sending shockwaves through the fortress and plunging the Zorath High Command into chaos. The surviving humans barely escaped the planet, their cloaked ships weaving through a storm of enemy fire. Back on Earth, news of the mission's success spread quickly. The Zorath leadership, fractured and disoriented, struggled to coordinate their forces. The once unshakable empire now teetered, its confidence shattered. Humanity, though battered and grieving the loss of heroes like Malik Reyes, had gained a critical advantage. Evelyn Carter, addressing the world once more, captured the moment's significance. This victory did not come without cost. We mourn those we have lost, and we honor their sacrifices. They remind us of what we fight for, the right to exist, to thrive, and to shape our own destiny. Today, we have shown the galaxy that humanity will not falter. We will continue to fight, and we will prevail. The Zorath now faced a species they had grossly underestimated, one capable of striking at their very core. For the first time, fear crept into their ranks. Humanity had turned the tide, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they were a force to be reckoned with. The Zorath, their empire teetering on the brink of collapse, gathered the remnants of their once mighty fleet for a desperate, final assault on Earth. Their pride demanded retribution, and their survival hinged on breaking humanity's resistance. The skies over Earth darkened as the largest Zorath fleet yet assembled arrived in orbit, their weapons charging with lethal intent. It was clear, this was a do-or-die gambit, an all-or-nothing strike to crush humanity once and for all. On Earth, humanity braced itself. This was the battle that would decide everything, their survival, their future, their place in the galaxy. Evelyn Carter stood in the heart of command, her voice steady as she issued orders. Every satellite, defense platform, and orbital ship was activated. Every soldier, pilot, and civilian was ready. Across the globe, the message was clear: stand together, fight together. The battle erupted with ferocity unmatched by anything that had come before. Earth's orbital defenses lit up as Zorath ships descended in waves, their energy cannons ripping through space. Human fighters, sleek and nimble, danced among them, targeting weak points and exploiting their superior maneuverability. Cloaked ships launched precision strikes, taking out key Zorath vessels before vanishing back into the chaos. In the skies, humanity's ingenuity and resourcefulness shone. Civilian fleets, retrofitted with makeshift weapons and shields, joined the fight, piloted by engineers, miners, and traders. These were not trained soldiers, but their courage was unshakable. Families and friends fought side by side, their ships weaving into formations that confused and overwhelmed the Zorath. On the ground, anti-aircraft systems and ground troops held the line, ensuring no Zorath landing craft could reach the surface uncontested. Amid the chaos, Evelyn made a bold decision. The Zorath flagship, a massive dreadnought, had emerged as the central force of their fleet. Its destruction could cripple the enemy's offensive and turn the tide decisively. But the ship's defenses were nearly impenetrable, its energy shield absorbing everything humanity threw at it. Evelyn knew it would take more than firepower to bring it down. Gathering a hand-picked team, Evelyn personally led a daring operation to disable the flagship. In a small, cloaked ship, they infiltrated the dreadnought's perimeter, slipping past its defenses under cover of the battle's chaos. Evelyn's presence on the mission was a gamble, but one she insisted on. This was more than strategy. It was a message. Humanity's leaders did not sit idly by while others fought and died. Inside the flagship, Evelyn and her team moved with precision, planting charges at critical points and disrupting the Zoratha's command systems. They encountered fierce resistance, and casualties mounted as the mission pressed forward. At one crucial moment, Evelyn herself was forced into a firefight, her calm resolve never faltering. "We finish this," she told her team, her voice firm despite the danger. The charges detonated, disabling the flagship's shields and leaving it vulnerable to external fire. Evelyn's team barely escaped as Earth's combined fleet unleashed a barrage of coordinated strikes. The dreadnought, the pride of the Zorath Empire, erupted in a spectacular explosion that sent shockwaves across the battlefield. With the destruction of their flagship, the Zorath fleet began to collapse. The remaining ships, their formations broken and leadership faltering, retreated in disarray. Humanity's forces pressed the advantage, pushing the Zorath out of Earth's orbit and beyond the solar system. The war was over. The cost of victory had been high. Cities lay in ruins, fleets were decimated, and countless lives had been lost. But through it all, humanity had prevailed. Across the globe, celebrations erupted as people embraced one another, tears of grief and relief mixing freely. They had fought together, sacrificed together, and survived together. In the days that followed, Evelyn returned to the Alien Council. This time, she stood before them not as a representative of a weak and insignificant species, but as the voice of a people who had defied impossible odds. The chamber was silent as she spoke, her words measured but firm. "We didn't want this war. We sought peace, cooperation, understanding. But you brought it to our doorstep. And now you've seen what humanity is capable of when pushed to the brink. Remember that." The council listened, many of them now seeing humanity in a new light. The Zorath Empire, fractured and humiliated, withdrew from the galactic stage. Other species, once indifferent or dismissive, began to approach humanity with a newfound respect, and a tinge of fear. Humanity, though battered and scarred, emerged stronger. They had earned their place in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through resilience, unity, and an unyielding spirit. As Evelyn looked to the stars, she knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. Humanity's story was far from over.